it made me want to get really, really small because I thought, gosh, I've been putting myself out there and bringing people together and organizing things. And now I'm hearing that these two girls didn't like that. They were mad and upset that I was doing that. And they're not going to like me if I keep stepping up as a leader. So I just kind of want to shrink and be small and hide now and not get on their radar so that I can fit in and be liked and accepted. Welcome to How to Trust Yourself, the podcast for anyone who's done with the endless second guessing and ready to tune in to your inner guidance. I'm Anna Holtzman, and I get that feeling of trudging through life like you're wading through mud, trying to figure out which way to go. In my 20s, I spent more time asking what should I do with my life than writing about crushes or bad dates in my journal. I've tried on a lot of answers: architecture, publishing, editing reality TV for a decade, and finally landing on therapy and coaching, helping people like you connect with your purpose. But here's the thing I've learned through all those twists and turns. Trusting yourself is the key to moving forward, even when the path feels messy. So if you're ready to stop doubting yourself and start listening to your gut, you're in the right place. Let's dive in. Welcome back, dear listener. I hope that you're settling into this new year in whatever way feels good to you. I hope it's a gentle re-entry into the world. And I want to talk today about a topic that comes up a lot in my group membership, Seen and Safe. And that topic is leadership. Even just the word leadership can bring up a certain type of stress or fear. Something that comes up a lot in our group is the various nervous system responses that we've developed toward this idea of leadership and how stepping into leadership can feel risky. And today I want to talk about why stepping into leadership can feel risky and how we can move through those fears so that we can step into leadership in ways that enrich the communities that we're part of and that we're building. So, I'm going to talk about an experience that I'll call a leadership wound. Back in Episode 89, I talked about visibility wounds, but today I'm going to talk about leadership wounds. And I'm going to share an experience of mine that illustrates this idea, what it is, and how we can move through and heal these wounds. But I want to let you know that if you are looking for a place to practice getting comfortable with stepping into visibility, stepping into leadership, and practice it in a community of other supportive people who are on a similar path, that's what we do inside of my membership, Seen and Safe. It's a group that meets twice a month on Zoom, and it's a really supportive group of people. We talk about the fears that come up when stepping into leadership and visibility. We work through the gunk together. We lift each other up, and it creates this upward momentum of movement and exploration. And enrollment to the membership opens just a few times a year, and it is open right now. In fact, it's open. The re-enrollment opened on January 14th. Enrollment will be open through January 26th. So if you would like to be part of this community, head on over to annaholtzman.com/seen and safe. And if you want to get a little taste of the work that we do and the vibe of the group, I'm holding a free workshop on January 20th And you'll find that if you head over to my Instagram or my website. It's in the link in bio. It'll pop up when you go to my website, annaholtzman.com, or go over to free workshop. You'll find it. I would love to see you there on January 20th. So here's the story that I will share with you today. And this is something that I had not thought about really for years, but it came up recently in a session I was having with my life coach, who I meet with every other week. And I must have I don't actually remember what triggered it, but there must have been something around my experience of leadership in the present day that brought up this really young experience I had when I was in elementary school. I was in the 4th grade. And so I went to a really small school. We had small classes. I think my class was maybe 16 students or so. So we all knew each other really well. And in the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd grade, I was definitely some sort of a class leader. And what I mean by that is just that I loved to organize things. I loved to bring people together. I loved to bring my classmates together to organize activities. I was always having ideas of like what we should do during recess. Um, I liked raising my hand a lot. I've talked about that before on this podcast. But I loved bringing people together. I loved initiating activities. I wouldn't have put it into these words, but looking back, I loved being a leader. And I also I had 2 best friends, Susie and Nell, and also another best friend named Ostrid, but she left the class after the 1st grade. Anyway, so that's another story for another time. But I had these two besties, and I organized a sticker club that the 3 of us were members of. This was the '80s, so stickers and sticker clubs were a big thing. I organized a sticker club. It was called Our Friends and Us Sticker Club. And I think we sent in an application to some kind of sticker club competition. I don't know. It was yeah, I wish I still had the evidence of that. But at any rate, I loved to lead, and I didn't have the words to call it that, but it's something that I just innately did and loved to do. After the 3rd grade, another of my best friends left the school. Her family moved. My friend Susie, who was part of the sticker club, she moved upstate, or I think to Massachusetts. And when I got back to school for the start of 4th grade, I remember this now so well that my heart actually starts beating when I am preparing to tell this story. So we got back to school, and it must have been during like the first week of being back to school. The composition of the class had changed because Susie, my bestie, had left. And these 2 other girls in our class who I was friendly with came up to me and they said, you know what? We're sick of you being in charge of everything. And so this year, we're taking over." And I was stunned because the way I interpreted that was that they were like pissed, and that, maybe they perceived me as having been controlling, like I was intentionally controlling the class in some way, which I didn't think I was. And it was just this whole mix of feelings of like, I felt shocked. I felt like the rug had been pulled out from under me. I felt like my self-perception must have been totally off because I just thought I was friends with everyone and everything was good and great, and I loved organizing things, and I thought other people loved when I organized things. And here I was hearing something that sounded to me like, get out of the way. You've been controlling things and we want you out and we're going to take control now. And it was frightening. I felt like they were turning on me and like I was going to have to find a new way to be in this community of people that I had been part of for the last 3 years. And it made me wanna get really, really small because I thought, gosh, if I've been out there and putting myself out there and bringing people together and organizing things, and now I'm hearing that these 2 girls didn't like that. They were mad and upset that I was doing that, and they're not gonna like me if I keep being that way, if I keep stepping up as a leader. So I just kind of want to shrink and be small and hide now and not get on their radar so that I can fit in and be liked and accepted. And it made me sad too because leading, organizing things, bringing people together was something I loved and that I really didn't think about the fact that I was doing it. It was just my nature and how I loved to be. But after they approached me that way, I felt like, oh, the way that I am is not acceptable. It's not good. It's not liked. And I've got to find a different way to move through the world where I'm not making waves and I'm just kind of keeping myself under the radar, which really just kind of like dimmed that spark inside of me. And it was really, really wild to recall this event and its aftermath in a session with my coach not too long ago. And the reason that it came up was because those feelings of like, oh no, are people going to dislike me if I'm stepping into a leadership role? If I am bringing people together and organizing activities? Are people going to resent me for stepping into a leadership role? Those fears had been subtly coming up, something, I don't remember what, but something had triggered them. And then with those feelings, once I was in a safe conversation with my coach about it, that memory just spontaneously floated to the surface. And I realized, wow, there's this old sense memory that's coming to the surface that's speaking through my nervous system and telling me that it's not safe to be a leader. Whoa, how wild is that? And by surfacing this story all these years later, as an adult in a safe conversation with my coach, and having all the tools that I've developed myself to coach myself through the years, I realized that this story that had been kind of running some kind of show in my nervous system under the surface for all these years was based on a reaction from a child's perspective. It was my childhood reaction to that situation. And as a child, I interpreted it as, oh, these girls hate me for stepping up as a leader. And so stepping up as a leader is going to make me hated, and I better not do that anymore. But looking back at the story as an adult, I mean, there are so many other interpretations that I can come up with. I mean, first of all, I remember having sleepovers with those very same girls later in the same year. So, did they hate me? I don't think that was actually true because I don't remember the rest of that year as being like a friendless year. I remember continuing to be a part of the the class, the group, the get-togethers, the activities. I even remember having, like sleepovers with those particular girls. But also, I could also interpret that story as they saw me doing something that they wanted to do too. And they were only kids themselves. So instead of approaching it in a way that was collaborative or, you know, friendly and acknowledging, they just said, like, oh, we see you organizing things and we don't feel like we could do that without pushing you out of the way. And now we want to be in charge of things. So, we were all having our child responses and reactions to things. And if I could step back in time as an adult and talk to my fourth grade self in the moment of that experience, I'd probably say something to her like, you didn't do anything wrong. You were doing what came naturally to you. You love organizing people. You love bringing people together in activities. That is a fantastic thing. And maybe you were hogging the leadership role. Who knows? I was a kid. Maybe you can share a little bit more or collaborate more. But this is not a flaw. This is like a beautiful part of your nature, and it's something to celebrate and continue. And if someone is reacting negatively, that's as much about what's going on for them as anything else. And I would encourage myself to stay true to my nature and to keep that leadership aspect of my personality going. So, as I'm telling this story, I wonder if it's sparking anything for you. I wonder if it's bringing anything to the surface for you, whether it's about your present day life and the ways in which you might feel fear or hesitancy about stepping into leadership. Are there particular stories that come up for you consciously or unconsciously about what it means to take a leadership role and what it means about who you are, your character, your likability, your acceptability? Is it is my story surfacing any younger stories for you? Any experiences that you may have had in your younger years about reactions that you got when you stepped into any kind of leadership and how you interpreted those reactions and how those interpretations may have influenced you as you continued to develop throughout your life. If this story is bringing up any kind of resonance for you, I encourage you to journal it out, to journal out the stories that come up for you around leadership, around what leadership is or means to you, and what it feels like for you to step into leadership. And if there are some younger self stories that are coming up, I invite you to also write a letter to that younger self, helping them to process whatever leadership wound they might have experienced and helping them to integrate that experience through the loving wisdom of an adult's eyes. And I'll remind you that if you would like to practice exploring your relationship to visibility and leadership together with a supportive group who's on a similar path, exploring similar things. If you'd like a supportive practice group of peers to help you explore this kind of stuff as you take one step and then the other into greater visibility and greater leadership in your own life, whether it's through your creative work, through your work as an entrepreneur, through just simply showing up as more of yourself in your life. I would love to have you join us in my membership group, Seen and Safe. We meet twice per month. We do a little nervous system regulation together. We do some journaling to tap into our intuition and inner guidance. And then we do something that's I call a heart seat. It's based on the concept of a hot seat. Several people come in with issues that they want to work on in the group and get support with. And we work on it together in a supportive, heartfelt way. Enrollment for the group is open now. It's going to be open during this enrollment period through January 26th. There are limited spots because the group is kept intentionally intimate so that it's a safe, supportive space. There are 2 cohorts. And if you would like to secure a spot in one of them, you can head over now to annaholtzman.com/seenandsafe. And if you want to get a little taste of how this group works and the vibe of it before deciding, I'd love for you to join me on January 20th. I'll be holding a free workshop, and you can find that again on my website, on my Instagram, all the places. You'll find that sign up, and I'd love to see you on January 20th. Thank you so much for listening. It's always such a pleasure to be here with you. I look forward to checking in with you again next week. Take care. If you enjoyed today's episode, please do me a favor. Hit that follow button so you don't miss a thing and leave a rating or review. It helps more people find this show, and honestly, it makes my day. And if you're looking for more ways to trust yourself and start listening to that gut instinct of yours, come hang out with me on Instagram at Anna_Holtzman. Let's keep the conversation going. Thanks so much for listening, and until next time, trust yourself. You've got this.